Views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
The following audio is via a Skype call.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail.
Hey everybody, welcome. I am telling you, I am so absolutely excited about not just today, but what is happening. You know, people have said to me, listen, Pat, we're getting ready for this major eclipse. And I'm thinking, okay, let's see, how old am I? Benny, don't answer that right now. But if I think about the time Benny and me, the time we've been together in 14 years, how many major eclipses have we had? However, apparently this one is, again, a once-in-a-lifetime deal. But what has that got to do with today's show? I'll tell you what. It has everything to do with today's show. Because if you're waiting for the eclipse to help you live an abundant, rewired life, here's what I want to say. Boy, I'll tell you, if you're waiting for this one and you're not going to make it for this one, then you better do something on your own. Today's show with Audrey Michel, Soul Awakening, Rewire Your Life. Why? Because we can. How do I know that? Because she has. And what is it that's available to all of you? Everything she's learned. How did she learn it? Yep, kind of the way that I learned it. I don't know if our timing's been the same, but yeah, there's nothing more devastating for us when your life is good, you got things going on, and all of a sudden you get a diagnosis. Well, in my case, nobody knew what it was, but the bottom line is we're not doing pretty well. We got a bunch of pain. We've got some things going on, but guess what? If you're Audrey Michel, what have you done? You've looked at it. You've followed the breadcrumbs. You've created and understood how to heal yourself. And what? Rewire your life. Today, you're going to hear about not only what she's doing, how she did it, why it's important, and why waiting for an eclipse may be just icing on the cake, but it's not the cake. Audrey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pat. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, it's not the cake. It's not the cake. We have the ability. So let's start with you. Now, you and I both have kind of similarities in our journey in that I didn't know what I knew today before 2004 because I'd never really been sick in my life. So I didn't know. Tell us how that diagnosis became a pathway for life, for hope, and for, let's just call it rewiring.
Right. Mine wasn't fast. I was diagnosed with endometriosis when I was 14. So in 1995, I got this diagnosis because, I'd been going to the doctors because I had painful periods. I have painful ovulation. My back hurt all the time. And, back then, and I believe it still is the case now, they do a diagnostic surgery to see, if you do have these endometriosis cells living outside of your uterus where they are not supposed to be, hence the disease. And again, at the very young age, I was diagnosed with endometriosis and chronic pain. And I wish I could say it was faster, but it was a
Mm-mm.
17-year journey with,
Yeah.
with this disease and with chronic pain. And so I had a moment in 2009, which I write about in my book called Cereal Bowl Day, where, I had gotten to the point where I had done all the things. I had done all the things that all of the experts say you're supposed to do. I'd done the surgeries, I'd done the treatments, the hormone treatments, and the pills, and all of it, right? And I got into this place in 2008 where I had had a fourth surgery. I had gotten to the place where, you know, the pain had ramped up, and my history told me, like, oh, we just go in for surgery, we clean things up. I feel a little bit better, but not amazing, but still better than what it had been. And that's what I do for the next few years. And then when it comes back to being unbearable, I go back in for surgery. So here I was, I did that. And the doctor came back and told me that I had no visible sign of this disease that had crippled me now for almost 2 decades. And that was very confusing because I was in more pain than I had ever been and wasn't getting out of bed for the week around menstruation, for the week around ovulation. And so it was a very confusing time. And in 2009, early 2009, after, hearing this news and going through this period of, more experts, more doctors, more appointments, more pills, the whole spiel, I woke up one day and just lost it.
Mm.
And I'll never forget the cereal bowl, right? My husband had left
Yeah.
this cereal bowl on the countertop and I lost it. I called him and he basically said, honey, like, take something and take a nap. Like, I can't talk about this at work. And as the story goes, I went to my basket of pills, which had a good dozen pills in it that I was taking on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at all of them and I didn't take one of them. I was like a heaping, bawling mess of like, oh my gosh, I have been doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results, right? The definition of insanity. And I quit in that moment. That's what my inner wisdom told me to do. For the first time, I listened. And so it started me on this path of rewiring my life, which for me meant rewiring my emotions. It meant rewiring my decisions and putting myself first, giving myself the power back and no longer saying, I'm going to go to this expert or that expert doctor and do what they say. All of a sudden, I was going to do what I wanted because I wanted to, because it felt good for me, not nobody else. For the first time in my life, I was doing what was right for me. And in that moment, it was quitting all of these pills, which, may not be the recommended way to do it. But I cold turkeyed all of it. And that's what was right for me in that moment. And so now I have taken this, path of what I call, beginning at 2009 was like my spiritual awakening. And then through
2009.
Yeah.
What the heck? What the
a long
heck
time
is up
ago.
with 09?
Yeah. And so that was the beginning. And I would say March of 2012 is what I call my line in the sand, where I was pain, symptom, and medication free. It took me, I cold turkeyed all of my pain meds and muscle relaxers and those sort of like digestive issue things. I held on to birth control, obviously, for many reasons. But I was on a very high dosage, one of the very first medications that came out. And so I held on to that for a while because I believed I needed it to regulate my hormones and my periods. But I quit taking all pills by 2012. And so that's my line in the sand. And
Yeah,
so
I love this. You know what? Here's what I love about this, because look, that's the short version of what you went through.
yeah,
The book is going to give us the whole version, right?
yeah.
But you and I, we talk about this, and I'm like you. I'm not a short-term wellness, heal yourself experience. I'm like you. My experience lasted for over a decade, seriously. So, but it was because I had to learn some things Audrey. I had to learn some things that I went to school for 8 years. So that Benny and the listeners could call me Dr. Pat, but I didn't learn anything that I needed to learn about life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so how has this journey, how has this, let's just call it diagnosis, how has this helped you learn things? And I say learn in a really condensed way.
What I had done for myself in those 17 years was make the short-term decision of I just want the pain to go away, the most important decision. And the easiest way to make the pain go away was to take a pain pill and or whatever had been prescribed at that particular time. And again, 2 decades kind of just slipped by, and I had to wake up and be like, okay, I'd been making the short-term decision and it turned into a long-term decision kind of on accident. And now I need to make the long-term decision. And so my perspective switched, and that's where the rewiring came in. It was, yes, today my pain level is a 10, but quite frankly, on those pills, my pain level was a 10 anyways. So it became more important for me to understand how I felt. I had gotten so disconnected from how I felt. I didn't know if it was me that was like being crazy, like crazy PMS, or was it a pill that was a side effect? I didn't know anymore. I literally had no idea. And it became more important for me to know and to become reconnected with myself than it was to have a short term make the pain go away. And that was what really shifted for me. Yeah. So I think what we're going to talk about today now is, these short circuits, these decisions that I had made.
Wow.
How do you go in and break those?
How do you go in and break them? Well, wait a minute. You're going to tell us, because you know what? Even though maybe we think we got this, that term, I got this. You know what? If we got this, we wouldn't be thinking about how stuck we are. Let's take a short break. I'm sorry. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, if you think you're stuck somewhere, it doesn't matter where. It doesn't matter. Maybe you've been trying to make your grandma's meatloaf for the past 20 years and can't make it. Who knows? But this is about rewiring. Why? Because that's what Audrey Michel does and helps people all over the globe. She's got something super coming up. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Nights by the water, she's gone astray so far away.
Gifted intuitive healer and spiritual teacher Sarah Luce brings her unique style to the hit show Small Steps, Big Breakthrough Radio on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Tune in each month as Sarah turns reality on end and shows us how to experience expansive results with simple yet powerful steps. Expect an enlightening bend on what you currently believe is possible. For show details and upcoming topics, visit sarahluce.com. That's SARALOOS.com.
Tune in to Mainstream Metaphysics Radio to harness your connection with the universe to effect change for optimal success and happiness. Named one of the country's top psychics, Eve now brings her insights and gifts to this weekly hit call-in show, joined by visionaries, leaders, and gifted others, but mostly you. Jot it down. Thursdays, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Did you know that all of the shows on the Transformation Radio Network are available as podcasts to stream or download?
Really?
Check us out. Go to transformationradio.fm. We have business shows, spiritual shows, energy healing shows, and pretty much everything in between. Something for everyone, guaranteed to inspire, educate, and transform. We are transforming the world, one listener at a time.
Gain powerful insight and practical tools to support you on your spiritual journey. Access your higher self and tune in every second and fourth Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific to A Life Untethered with Andrew Martin, Walking the Path of Freedom. Andrew is a highly attuned, intuitive oracle, energy worker, spiritual teacher, and international radio host. For more about Andrew and his services, visit thelightedones.com.
Chris Stanis is a spiritual leader and healer and teaches a course on how you can transform your life through a meditation and healing system that will manifest your spirit's dreams. She manifested the Women of Wisdom Conference, the Women of Wisdom book, and this radio show. And she can show you how to change your life too. Are you ready? Visit the website and contact her at voicesofwomentoday.com. That's voicesofwomentoday.com.
Discover the healing medicine from the giant monkey tree frog Cambo. Cambo practitioner Ginny Rutherford and professional psychic Todd Rolson have come together for lively discussions of alternative healing medicines from the Amazon. Ginny and Todd bring you Cambo Talk Radio. Tune in each Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific to hear from guests all over the world with real life stories and the medicinal benefits of Cambo. For more information, visit cambokiss.com.
Oh yeah, that is just totally what, Benny? Who was that?
I believe it was Clean Bandit is the name of the group.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just liking it. I'm pretty cool. I spent the weekend around what is it, Benny? 60s, 70s rock. So
that's good times.
That's what got us to help move stuff out of the Bothell Senior Center, my favorite place.
Nice.
Audrey Michel is here. She's going to help. I know she's going to help me, but she's going to help so many of you. Here's what I want to make sure we do throughout the show. When we think about rewiring and you're listening to the show, maybe you're not feeling great today. Maybe you're stuck. I want to make sure you have an opportunity to call in. 1-800-930-2819. Call in with questions. Also, Audrey, would you take a minute and
tell folks about this exciting online soul awakening
Sure.
event?
So it is my online masterclass. It's a 6-week class that goes through the process of rewiring your life. How it showed up for me, I now teach. And so it's all about, just like my show, love yourself, heal your body and mind, and celebrate life. And so what I found in my, journey towards healing, which, Dr. Pat and I both had kind of a big thing, but it doesn't have to be a big thing that you're healing from. It can be, just something within your job or whatever's going on in your life. And but I have found if you can start with unconditional love for yourself and give yourself the space then to heal, you can discover what tools you need for yourself and then to celebrate. Because like learning anything in our life, and we're going to talk about this more, if you at the end of it and during are giving yourself that feedback that like, yes, this feels good, right? Just like that baby learning to walk, right? We give it unconditional love while it's learning and falling, and then we help the baby heal. And then of course, while it takes its first step, we all freak out like, yay, like so excited. But the same thing has to happen for us in our healing process, in our rewiring process. So giving ourselves that positive feedback that what we are learning and implementing in our life is exactly what we want. So that's the process. And so it begins September 19th. But the fun part is over the next 6 to 8 weeks, I'm doing a bunch of fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
August 28th, I'm doing a 5-day challenge. And so that is, I'm giving away some of my favorite tools for free. Each day is a different tool of learning and challenge. And then I've got a 3-part video series, again, more free tools, which starts after Labor Day. And then the class officially launches on September 19th. So you can go to audreymichel.com and there is more information there. If you just go to the Soul Awakening tab, you can learn all the fun stuff there.
I love it. And we're going to talk about what today during the show, why this is important and what people will learn. So let's talk about Rewire, because not only is this the work that you do, but it's also, the book that you've written. What does it mean to rewire? Well, so a major part of my healing was kinesiology and emotional release technique through kinesiology, meaning I used my body and the meridians in my body to help me speak to my body. And so the thought is that your body is a message board to your psyche, right? So everything that is misaligned within our emotions and spiritually, our body is speaking to us, which isn't new information. If you're a fan of Louise Hay, she's been doing it for a very long time about how things manifest within our body is actually speaking to us about where we're misaligned in our emotions. And so I used that amongst, a myriad of things to heal. But that is the basis of my work now, is to help you heal and rewire your emotions. And so it's all about these neuroplastic pathways, which sounds complicated. It's not complicated. Well, it is complicated, but at the basis of it, it's these short circuits that we've created in our mind. And when we're learning anything, like I was saying earlier, like a toddler, a baby learning to walk or learning to ride your bike or anything in life that you are learning physically, emotionally, spiritually, we have these wires, the nervous system in our brain and our body that resituate themselves, right? So if we think about, again, this toddler learning to walk, like it's very stumbly and, lots of falls at the beginning, but obviously now as adults, and even, what does it take to learn to walk? Different for all kids, but a week or a month or whatever, you have then created this pathway within your nervous system of learning, right? So you no longer have to think left foot, right foot, bend my knee, etc. All these things are just stored in our brain and we just hop up and we do it now. And so these neuroplastic pathways form, like I said, both physically, emotionally, spiritually, and they form in positive and negative, not so helpful of ways. And so kind of how I like to think about it is if you've ever heard the phrase practice makes perfect. Well, does practice really make perfect, or does practice make a pattern? So if go ahead.
Tell me about that, because this is kind of cool stuff. And, I used an example last week having to do with something I love to do, table tennis, which people told me I would never be able to do ever again at the level I played. And I had a choice to either believe that or not. Right? So did you?
Yeah. That's exactly what we're talking about. So for athletes or dancers or whatever, it's all about that muscle memory. And so within the practicing, are you practicing well, or are you implementing some maybe not so good muscle memory patterns? And so the same thing happens for us emotionally. And so if you think of a positive emotion, a positive way of dealing with our emotions is to be able to witness what we've just experienced. If it's a traumatizing thing or a positive thing, we're able to learn the lesson and move on. Take what the lesson is and let everything else go by the wayside is the positive pathway. The negative one, on the other hand, is if we had a traumatic event happen. If we just sweep it under the rug, or, time shall heal, or whatever it is that we have made up for ourselves, and not actually learn the lesson, not actually deal with the trauma, you have then created this learning and this pattern for yourself moving forward that isn't actually helpful. And so a lot of this happens when we're kids, right?
Like totally.
We pick these things up and we pick up these learnings. And for example, some of the things I hear with my clients is, when you're a kid, to just be quiet, or you pick up some way of existing because it feels safer than expressing yourself fully and truly as your best self, as your true self. And something happens where a parent says something or a friend says something and it feels unsafe.
Right.
And we then decide forward into our future that action isn't safe. And then here we are as 30-year-olds still acting in that pattern that we decided for ourselves when we were 6 or whatever. In first grade, something, scary happened and we decided I'm never doing that again. And here we are adults still acting that way, and we don't know why anymore. And so the work I do is I get to really dig in with my clients and figure out, where these anxieties lie is usually where the healing is required. And so we dig in and we figure out, where did this pattern begin? And we go in and we heal it forward. And then you're able to live aligned with your true self, as opposed to living out of these patterns that you knowingly or unknowingly created for yourself in a way to be safe or loved or feel like you're good enough for, whatever we made up for ourselves in that scary moment.
Yeah, it is. And you know what I love about what you're talking about is because sometimes it seems absolutely unmanageable to try to address the many, 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 many things that may be going on in our lives.
Right.
However, what you're talking about is what my dear friend Dr. Darvish refers to as the natural process in healing, of looking at one layer at a time. Because once that one layer is rewired, as you just said, then you can move on to the next and the next and the next.
Exactly.
Which also means you don't have to go back to that one. And that is the problem so often, isn't it, Audrey, where people end up having to go back and back and back and back and back to the same thing over and over again.
Right. Because, a lot of us weren't taught these tools growing up. A lot of people grew up in households where the emotional tools weren't there. And it's not a judgment. It's just the truth. So I had worked with a woman in Sedona when I went on spiritual retreat, and she had done this study, which I was fascinated by, of 10,000 families over a decade. And out of those 10,000 families, they found like a handful of families that they would say were, emotionally speaking, in a healthy place.
Yeah.
Right? The husband came from a healthy place, the wife came from a healthy place, and they had created an emotionally stable, healthy family. A handful. So that leaves the rest of us, working through and learning now as an adult, what do these tools look like? And how do I use them in my own life? And so that's what I get to teach, and I love it.
I love this conversation because what it does is it sets the stage for possibilities. And what do I mean by that? Well, what is it about possibilities that shows up when we rewire and actually have love show up? Love in a way maybe we're not used to. And how do we know it? Well, that's why we get to work with Audrey. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about love. How can we rewire for it? And then what is it about love that becomes a gateway to heal? And then absolutely shift and change our lives. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
No limit in the sky that I won't fly for you. No amount of tears in my eyes that I won't cry for you. Oh no.
Brand consultant Jen Morgan is here with Radically Distinct Radio to help you take control of your future and maximize your brand's power to produce results. Whether you're an individual trying to reinvent yourself and launch a new venture, or you're an executive trying to reposition your company to modernize your sales and marketing programs, Jen Morgan and the RAD method empower you to play to your strengths and show up in the world as your most powerful brand. To learn more, go to jenmorgan.com. That's Jen with 2 N's Morgan.com, or call 206-972-5366.
Did you know what you learned in school was wrong, and there is actually a fourth phase of water beyond liquid, vapor, and ice? I know. I too was shocked when I learned this. What makes this new discovery so exciting? In scientific terms, this cutting-edge research explains the energetic potency of water. In practical terms, this missing link of water is now breaking open the floodgates for us to have a more complete understanding of our health, our weather, and the physics of our world. Join researcher, award-winning presenter, and author Professor Gerald Pollack of the University of Washington as he shares new scientific insights about how this fourth phase of water, the sun's energy, and geomagnetism affect our planet, and how this affects you, at East West Bookshop in Seattle on Saturday, August 5th at 7 p.m. For more information or to register, go to eastwestbookshop.com or call 206-523-3726.
Live your magnificence, for the love of joy is a precious gift offered to us by Robert Schoenfeld, host of the Art of Powerful Living Radio. He takes us on an incredible 30-day adventure to expand our minds and hearts with the nectar of life, love, and joy. This book will help you bring more joy, love, health, abundance, adventure, romance, and magnificence into your life.
Tune in to The Truth is Funny with Colette Steffen each Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This hit show will have you thinking outside the box and riding the wave of infinite potential. Join Colette on the Higher Self Network, inspiring listeners to shine their brilliance and ensure success while roaring with laughter as they recognize the humor of the giant cosmic joke. Visit thetruthisfunny.com.
Calling all moms, it's time to awaken your vibrant, intuitive, loving self in every area of your life. Join host Debbie Pokornik as she shares thoughts, stories, and tools to help you stand in your power. Listen to Vibrant, Powerful Moms helping everyday women create extraordinary lives. Mondays at 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. For more information about Debbie, visit empoweringenergy.com. That's empowering with letters NRG.com.
Got me questioning, where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love?
Oh, yeah, here we go. Audrey Michel is in the house. Audrey, before we kind of jump ahead, because we've got so much to talk about, we may even skip the next break. How can people find out more about you, about your book, and especially about soul awakening? Tell us how we can get more of that.
Sure. So everything in what I'm up to is at my website. It's audreymichel.com. And so it's spelled Michel, Michel.com. And like you said, there's more information on my coaching, my one-on-one coaching, my book, Rewired Life, my radio show, Rewired Life Radio, and of course, my class, Soul Awakening, How to Rewire Your Life, which is exactly what we are talking about today. Mm-hmm. So it is a 6-week online class where we go through the process of learning tools to help you love yourself, heal your body and mind, and celebrate life.
I love it. And, you know, what you're doing is you're transferring knowledge. You're bringing forth that which you not just learned by learning it from a book, but experienced it, created it, and documented it so you could share this with others. Exactly. And it is something we can use for different parts of our lives. And you also have an opportunity for one of our callers today to receive a seat in the class. So let's go ahead and do that now. This is cool. 1-800-930-2819. First caller, Benny. And tell folks a little bit about what this pay it forward offering is.
Sure. So the class is $525, so you're getting that for free. And it comes with a Facebook community and support from me during weekly calls. And then, of course, it's a similar online format as many classes, weekly content drips of going through finding unconditional love for yourself, learning forgiveness tools, and how to come to a place of feeling worth it, really. And then what we're going to talk about this segment is that transition from the space of love into the space of healing, and being able to sit in silence and really hear what your body has to say. And then, of course, celebrating, which is
Yeah.
giving yourself the feedback, the joy, and letting your body, your spirit, your nervous system know, hey, what I'm doing is good. This is exactly what I was looking for. This is the positive pattern I was looking for. So that's what we're up to.
I love it. And today it's just really to give people, an idea of what the process is about, as well as an opportunity to hope uh, in action that their lives can change. So how do we get from love to healing?
Awesome question.
Yeah.
So, this morning I was listening to Gabby Bernstein.
Oh,
She
yeah.
gets I get her emails, and this morning's video, I was like, I'm gonna listen to that. But one of the things she talks about a lot is being able to um, catch ourselves, and this is something I teach as well, to be able to catch yourselves in those like unloving moments when you're just being hard on yourself, which I am queen bee of, being hard on myself, but recognizing that and being like, oh, and being able to say, I love you.
Mm.
Like kind of a whoopsie daisy moment of like, the baby fell down, trying to stumble through its infant legs and trying to walk, and just notice for yourself, oh, I'm being hard on myself, and being able to show yourself some love and start again.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the healing comes in, is to start again, but to start again with new information. And so I have meditations and all that fun stuff to be able to get you to a place of silence so that you're able to listen from a different place. Because I know one thing for sure, there is no healing when you're in a place of stress and chaos and overwhelm and all of those like heavy emotions. You can't heal in that space, and you can't recognize anything for yourself when you're just overwhelmed with chaos. And one of the things I like to teach is when I recognize that I'm in, I guess sometimes what I call it is the littleness or the drama of a situation, and it just feels like very confusing. Being able to get out of the weeds of the situation and get on that airplane and view the situation from the 30,000-foot view and be
Mm-hmm.
like, is this drama serving me? Is
Right.
this serving me in the wholeness of my life, or is it something that I need to let go of? And so that's where the healing really begins. And one of the things I teach is, we all like to grow, right? Like we're in this
Yeah.
self-help conversation, and, so are the listeners and the people that we attract. And we really like to make the good parts of ourselves better. And what I have found is if you can think about growing, right? If you think of like a graph, I have this on my website, but like a graph, right? We've got the growing, we're increasing our knowledge about ourselves, the good parts of ourselves, which is great. But then what about the not so great parts of ourselves? The stuff that we don't really want to look at because it's kind of yucky and gross. We just kind of want to keep it tucked away, right? Those things, what if we keep that flatlined,
Yeah.
And that part doesn't grow. All of a sudden, if you think about swinging from the best parts of yourself to these lower parts of ourself, the lower vibe parts, if we keep growing the best part and we keep ignoring the worst part, the distance between the two keeps getting greater. And so you'll see this in people, and I see it in myself, I see it in my clients, where we are on the high. We're like, oh my gosh, I'm like so high vibing, I'm doing everything right, and then all of a sudden something happens and we smack back down to the lower vibe parts of ourselves, these parts where our issues lie that we're not really wanting to look at. The swing gets greater. And so what I do in my work is we start to look at some of the less fun parts of ourselves and grow that too, so that the best parts of ourselves and the lower parts of ourselves are growing at the same rate. And so if you can think of the swing between the two becomes less when we're growing these lower parts of ourselves at the same time as the better parts of ourselves. And so you experience less of a swing, like I keep saying. And so the pendulum doesn't swing so far from left to right, and you experience way less of these, dramatic moments and then severe highs of like, celebration and yay. And so you kind of bring it down to like, you still get the ups and downs, but they're not so severe. And it doesn't, when you get knocked off the horse, if you will, it's not so dramatic.
I know.
It doesn't
I know.
take you out
Trauma.
of life.
It's
Yeah.
traumatizing. I mean, that's really what we're talking about is if we can go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 without experiencing a degree of traumatization, then we're really creating a step-by-step platform to really rise above whatever that was going on
Yeah.
within ourselves, right?
Yeah. And so, I call them the lower vibe places. And so it's the question becomes, how do you find these? And it's all readily available if you're listening, but it's where we're missing our authenticity and where we're missing integrity, where we're feeling out of authenticity and out of integrity for ourselves, right? So that's different for everybody. So that makes it a difficult conversation is to figure out, am I acting out of integrity in this particular situation? And for myself, I can feel it in my body. Like I am so sensitive now to what is going on with myself that my body will I call it energy bubbles. Like I just feel like energy bloated. And that's when my body is just like, nope, something ain't right. This ain't right,
Well,
And so I have to really sit with myself and
mhm,
use the tools that I teach and be like, okay, where are
mhm,
we off? What needs to shift? What do I
mhm.
need to learn?
Yeah. Well, someone said to me, you know what, you can't really take somebody to a place where you haven't gone yourself. And I didn't really understand that until I got sick. And, it was the process that I went through where I learned more from point of not feeling well, literally and immediately almost, to getting on a pathway to how healing could actually happen. And that's what you had to develop for yourself. And now what you're doing is you are helping people understand that they can be active and engaged participants in their own destiny.
Yes.
Yeah. What was one of the things that you discovered along the way that most people don't generally connect to healing? We go through this and we think, oh, I got to struggle through it, or I got to do this. It sounds so really, really heavy. But, how can we get moments of celebration in here somewhere?
That's an awesome question. Celebrating for me when I was in the thick of my healing, right? Like I'm still healing from all kinds of stuff, but the major bulk healing, um, when you're like not getting out of bed for 2 weeks, like what's the celebration in that, I had to really pare it down. And, at the time I read a lot of Brene Brown and, one of the things she talks about was like celebrating the mundane. So there were literally days where I was like, my tea is hot. And that was a celebration for me to get out of bed and make myself tea and or even to like shower. Some days like showering was enough to celebrate, because when you're really tired and you're really in pain, like standing in the shower for 10, 15 minutes is just too hard. So I just couldn't do it. And so that was a celebration for me, like very, very little things. But again, if we talk about it in this rewiring your life, love, heal, celebrate way, um, reteaching my brain, like, yeah, showering, it's a celebration. And I would kind of build in little pieces of letting go, right? Like having the water wash over me and wash off the yuckiness and being able to start fresh. So I would build in kind of these ritual celebration pieces into my day. And so that was what celebration looked like when I was really not well. And
Yeah.
now celebration might look a little bit more like, taking my doggy for a run, taking Olive out, or a pedicure with my girlfriends, or just little things. They don't have to be big. I mean, we have done some big things. We went to Bali last year, and that was like a big, like very big celebration of the completion of my book and my class, and
Yeah.
just kind of my growth. So it was like a big deal. But it doesn't all have to be, waiting. And I caught myself doing this, saying when I was sick, I would catch myself saying, when I'm better, when I'm well, we're going to go to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And Bali was kind of that for me, but it came in 2016. So in 2009, like, hello, that's almost 10 years. So you don't want to do that to yourself. Like,
Yeah.
building in some everyday celebration and joy is key. Not waiting for, well, when I'm healthy, then I'll go do
Right.
whatever it is.
Right. Because we do that. We postpone our joy, right? As if joy is something that we're waiting to happen, as opposed to understanding that it really is something happening 24/7 if we're open to see it. I mean, isn't that what Soul Awakening, isn't that what this class is about? Is to help us remember some of the things that are included in our potentiality as human beings.
Yeah. Yeah. To remember and remind ourselves that, everything you need is available to you within you, yourself. Like, you yourself, you have it. You can give it to yourself. And it really is just defining what that is for you, And so gratitude and joy is such a vital part of it. To just remind yourself that life can be joyous in every moment if you choose that.
Yeah. So here's the question I have for you. When you were looking at yourself and your life, you didn't have the tools per se that you're talking about now and are teaching to people. You had to literally create this blueprint.
Yeah. And so, what happened was I was going through my healing journey for me, right? I was healing me for me. And then I wrote my book. And I wrote it because the universe said I had to, like, hit me in the back of the head, was like, you get to write this. And it was like a freight train that couldn't be stopped. And I didn't have like a business plan about it. I was a wedding photographer at the time, and writing this book because, like I said, I had to. And when it got done, I would get phone calls and emails and contact from women of like, well, how do I do that for myself? And I'll never forget, within writing the book, I was really kind of trying to figure out, like, what was this process for myself in a way so I could like write it that it made sense. And I went to a women's group, a mastermind group. And again, I was a wedding photographer, so that's the space that I was in. But I was also doing this other thing. So every once in a while, the book would come up, and I said to him, and I think my process to heal was, you have to love yourself first, and then healing can happen, and then you have to celebrate all along the way. And I'll never forget, this one woman who so happened to be a psychologist was like, no, 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 no. You have to heal first, and then you can love yourself. And I was just like, sat there. And it was this moment of like, I can revert back to my old self of giving my power away to the like quote unquote experts.
Yeah.
Or I can stand up for myself and let you know what it was like for me. And it was like worlds colliding. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
No, if I waited for myself to heal, I still wouldn't love myself. Like, it would be, eons down the road. I'm like, no, I had to love myself in the current moment, even when things were like really awful. I had to sit and find unconditional love for myself so that I could heal. And she was just kind of sat there and looked at me. And I'm like, I'm still not sure she believes me, but I don't really care because it was for me, It was my journey.
Yeah. And what I love about this is, in your upcoming course, you're going to be able to help people based on your experiences of what worked and what didn't. So, participants get to really experience and look at all of the things that you've already figured out, but they get to bring their own experiences to the table And what I love about this is you're going to be able to help people individually. And sometimes that gets lost when we're talking about, doing a class or a course. We
Right.
forget that these are people and we're all unique.
Yeah, everybody's path is different. And really, my goal is to not only like give you the confidence to know that it is possible for you to rewire your life, but to give you tools that helped for me, right? And so it's all an experiment. It's all a curiosity to be like, oh, here's this tool that Audrey has. I like it or I don't. It works for me or if it doesn't. And if it doesn't, awesome. Go on to the next one and see if that one works for you and fits into your life. There's a wonderful woman that I'm reading right now, Denise Duffield Thomas, and the way she puts it is she says all the woo-woo works. You just have to figure out which woo works for you. And I like laughed out loud when I said that. I was like, that one got a circle because I was like, oh, that's funny. But it's true. Like you just have to figure out which part of this spiritual journey works for you. And if it doesn't, awesome.
Well, and that's it. If it doesn't work for you, then you just say next.
Yeah.
Right?
And so that's what my journey was. It was all about being curious about what was working for me. And because it worked for me doesn't mean it will work for you, but I'm giving as many tools as I can so that you can figure out which works for you. And that's exactly where my radio show comes into, is to just have a variety of discussions and to help people wake up in the way that makes sense for them.
Well, first of all, please, before we this hour just zip by, tell folks how they can find out more about the class, but also how can they tune into your radio show?
Sure. So everything is at audreymichel.com, again, spelled Michel. So if you go to audreymichel.com, there's more information about me as a coach, my book about the Soul Awakening class. Again, the next 6 to 8 weeks here between now and September 19th. I've got all kinds of fun stuff going on, free tools, free giveaways leading up to the class. And my radio show, I have found some amazing women from across the country and Canada to speak into these different topics that I have, all about unconditional love, worthiness, redefining what your life and your success looks like, celebration, gratitude, and joy. And so those are the topics on the radio show for the next 6 weeks, which you can go to, again, audreymichel.com. If you click on the radio tab, it's there, or by going to rewiredliferadio.com. So that's all the
I
good.
love it. Yeah. Now, listen, I know this is for many people, this is really looking at how do I get to change my life? Thank you for today, Audrey. One last question.
Pleasure.
What's your personal message? What would you like to leave us with today?
I am all about empowering women to heal. And so whatever that looks like for you, I am here to support you and help you grow in that journey of healing. So it's all about empowerment and healing.
Wow. And what's happening on your next show?
My next show, Wednesday at noon Pacific, is how to go from not feeling good enough to feeling totally worth it.
I love that. That
Right?
is something, yeah, no kidding, right? I mean, that is a ton of what all of us need.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Audrey. And
Thank
for
you.
those of you, this is just an overview. Audrey's going to continue to talk more about her upcoming course, as well as how you can work with her individually, get a copy of her book, and all of the above. Audrey, you rock.
Thank you, Dr. Pat.
All right,
This has been
everybody,
fun.
we're going to take, I know it's always fun. We're going to take a short break. We're not done having the fun yet. We got more fun to come. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Lots
preceding audio was via a Skype call.